It's Saturday, October 26th, 2024. I'm in the United States of America with the Federal Reserve note, an ONE, and an In God We Trust, with a White House and with a U.S. Treasury. Um, I wrote on certain of my posts to Iomi Io this week of what I have found and discovered. As an RH negative and an RH sensitive, I just, and having been harmed in his most sensitive way when I was younger, um, and then almost like this presentation of like the ultimate husband who then was withheld when it came time for Mary. Um, and then this just absolutely disastrous life. I just feel like it's just been whatever, 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 whatever. Um, so this week, as I went to the $16 an hour job as a at the cash register on surveillance camera system, there are counterfeit quarters. People were coming in with counterfeit 100s that were not passing the machine that they have to inspect counterfeit, saying it was from the local banks. I passed by Bank of America this week and I saw no longer this armored truck, but this Brinks van with paper plates, which was odd. And then later in the week, yesterday, in fact, there was this same van outside of my employer. Um, so that was disturbing. And then just to drive around and see all of these license plate changes, it's very disturbing. There are like multiple road and vehicular violations against the codes and like the policy of the local area. I don't know who has the authority to change those things so drastically or what it could implicate or mean. Um, then in my own historical context, when I went to school, and again, I went to school not, and I don't even know if I should preface it in the words of outside the house as opposed to in-house education. Um, just for real crystal clarity for like the husband that was presented and then withheld from my ability, leaving me in this outhouse like, I'm not taking sides, but right at the moment I'm outside the house. But I don't want that to even be mistranslated by the whatever, whatever, whatever. Um, so I'm um, so there's license changes. I don't know on whose authority. And then there is this. My When I went to school, I had textbooks, and the textbooks were from a certain time frame. They were taught in my parents' generation and in my generation, or my parents in America. We share a common history of whatever the educational authority was allowing us to learn at whatever level I was being kept within, um, in the kingdom of the God. So, which I don't know I don't have motives, I don't have agendas, I don't have plans ahead of time. I just entered this world with a shared history with my parents, And then human experience is all I have to fall back on of how abused my person has been throughout this time frame. Um, and so I'm now looking at my son's historical reference in his history, like his personal history of what he's being taught. And it's no longer a bound textbook. It is now leaflets of with a staple and some story. It's not even a bound, historically accurate, whichever. I don't know why. I don't know why it changed. I know that within these leaflets holds a whole lot of, I don't know, do you say Eldorado gold? Is it somebody else's gold? Je ne sais pas. Non so, I don't know. But it's, and as I read through it on different layers. Like if the bloodline of Caesar was to read these leaflets, what might the implication or interpretation be for the interior of the land that has hurt me a lot? We'll just put. And then if I was to read it from a presidential standpoint, looking out over these lands, then I think of it, if I was the Interior Seaway Council, how might I read it? Then I think if I'm the Continental Army, how might I read it? And then if I was, which I'm not, an academic of some other state platform, which has some other number, I don't know what. Again, I try to stay within the 48 continental, knowing that I have to balance this 50 whenever I think of whatever I'm going to say. After I've had time to sit quiet and meditate on it based on the facts that are presented to me at the discovery of whatever these things are that I've gone through. And this history that they're presenting now, I know inside the school building, while I'm seeing violations of street plates, supposedly state issued, but they're no longer metal. They're now some kind of silk screen. So that's concerning. There's a lot of material facts. And it is really frightening to know just the lack of communication. Media platform, as polluted as it is at the moment, and I'm inside of this. They've offered now something called a social media. I don't really know what their intentions were with that. But for me, it's like an SOS into the universe and the galaxy for like the one human assignment may actually care about my person and want to keep me safe and my son safe. So it's just, and like, was I even offered that luxury? Je ne sais pas, non so, I don't know. But when I read through this, based on the historical context that I was delivered with and I entered into with my parents, in bound textbooks, again, I learned very surface conversation just to construct a leadership understanding of Kingdom of God, or the God, between serf, lord, and God, and then the knights somewhere in between. And then knowing that there's the Continental Army with the 48, and then they have whatever with the 50, for the whatever's going on at any and all times from like a Caesar's perspective. Um, so I'm looking at some of the facts that they wrote on this exchange. I even watch how they present, like, is it Leif Erikson's bound history or is it Columbus's bound history? Je ne sais pas, non so. I don't know. This one is mentioning Columbus, but now they're presenting Columbus as Hispanic. I didn't learn that Columbus was not Hispanic at all. He was Italian. That's what we learned. So it is confusing now that they're rewriting and changing history in my son's history, which is not even the shared, like, and like, how do you even have that conversation in like a matrix format? Like, we have a lived experience of history, he and I, and me and my parents. And then there's what the educational department bound and put before us, which was our grade school or our elementary understanding for our class. But when I see these changes, it's confusing. And I don't know where they are in the arguments of the whatever. And so there's that. I also know what 2 heritage languages. I know the 3 I was offered. Um, I know what I would have liked to have spoken. I know what arrived to try to speak or to try to even just interview me, to see, like, again, if I was learning 2 very specific languages, then they threw in a third. And I'm going to just keep that to myself for the moment. And then the 3 that they actually allowed us to be introduced to within the middle school I was in. And it is just so different than now where my son is. Now he's in Queens. I was in Suffolk County. Now I'm in this Queens County. And things are so altered and so different than where I was raised. Um, and even different from when my parents were raised. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cateruzza, but it is very disturbing reading this, knowing where I am and trying to anchor myself, just to try to bring myself up to speed on the level of danger that surrounds me, um, and how to read. I mean, like, again, I see the media. I only watch the televised media. I'm trying to stay really specific. I really don't care of the opinions or the influencers on social anything. But there is, I mean, in my life journey, I really don't know, like, if somebody introduced me to one, then maybe I would. But like, again, I try to stay really to the media that's on the televised, the television at the moment, knowing that that's enough to try to decipher, between, is that like imperial order speaking? Is that some argument of something else? Like, is that like an interior? Is that an exterior? Again, like, there's lots of things that I try to like quantify in where am I in this reality. But then I listen to some of them and I'm like, why do they even let that on media? I mean, that should be confined only to social media. I mean, it there's so much multinational trying to be stuffed into this one, like, I mean, they said that this is, first it was national broadcast, now they're saying it's state broadcast, but that gets confusing at my level of there's no interaction with anything human intelligent. So I don't know. But it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Catarosa, Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. Oh, and then I tried, I called the White House a while back, but they have like some kind of robotic phone system to alert them to the quarter problem. And then I tried the FBI on the internet. That didn't work. It gave me some kind of dead end error, which I took a picture of, and then I just put it on my Facebook as well. I was like, trying to keep track of my records to, like CYA for FYI if there is that one person that actually cares or exists. Um, so that's where I'm at.